Picture this. It's mid-December of 2021. COVID has obliterated our social lives. Nobody can fathom a Russian invasion, and crypto bros far and wide are salivating over NFTs like executives do now over AI. You're scrolling through your notifications, and you see a link to a brand new project with the all-important words, free NFT. Without hesitation, you click the link because you're naive, but this time you're lucky, and you're met with this. Those of you who remember know what I'm talking about when I say it was unlike anything we'd ever experienced. The art was stunning, the sign-up was simple, and the music. It pulled us in like a spell. After that, we were delivered to a Discord server. So began the story of PlanetQuest. Now, straight away, it was a confused mania of excited people trying desperately to divine meaning from nebulous, cryptic fluff, but it was just enough for people to frenzy. Independently, with hardly a word from any of the developers, the community began to gather within their 3 prescribed fictional factions. I'll save that discussion for another video. Soon, they began to even elect representatives and rally around leaders, doing their best to stick to the law-accurate spirit of their groups, of which they knew very little at the time, save for a few short paragraphs of teaser. During this time, there was a lot of chaos, fun, speculation, and above all, hype. People thought this was going to make them rich. They thought the community would be their family, and that this game surely would be their forever game. They were right about one of those things, but as for the other 2, it remains to be seen. Then, the story began. The first season of PlanetQuest's story was written by the incredibly skillful Rowan Metcalf, a writer and experienced dungeon master. Now, I'm not much of a lore guy when I play games, and I'm also not much of a reader in general, so hopefully that lends some credibility to my words when I say that I, and thousands of others, were hooked. We could not get enough of this stuff, and while I'd love to dive into the story itself and what made it so amazing, that too will have to be for another time. What I wanted to discuss about it was actually the mechanic the developers introduced, as well as one of the core premises of the fictional world. During the onboarding to the community, they split us into our 3 groups. We had a couple of weeks to stew, form bonds, and dig trenches. Once the story began, we were expected to vote for actions within the story in the interest of our faction, as part of the fictional governing body called the Universal Council, composed evenly of members of all factions to keep the peace. In many ways, the experience of participating in the council as a voter mirrored real life, with people trying to consolidate power, rally voters to their causes, sway events, and on many occasions, making a beeline for whatever option sounded the most insane and violent. Truly, just like real life. But again, this is how the experience was similar to the everyday, and that isn't why we're here. No. Because what is perhaps the greatest irony of Galactic Entertainment's flagship IP is how closely the experience of its community members mirrors the basic premise of their fictional world. John McCoy, during one of his many Q&A appearances during the early days, said that one of the team's greatest inspirations was The Expanse, the objectively best answer, as any sci-fi nerd will tell you. Without getting too spoilery, the basic premise of The Expanse, PlanetQuest, and hell, even Lost in Space, is about humanity discovering that they are actually living in an abandoned home from antiquity, in the same sort of way that Dark Age peasants might have wondered at Roman constructions. Only imagine that the Romans had left them space lasers, portals, and faster-than-light internet. That all sounds incredibly cool, right? Except there's just one catch. We are the progenitors. We, the people who were there at the beginning of PlanetQuest, who breathed life into it with our time, money, but most of all, belief, are the boneyard that one day bright-eyed and bushy-tailed gamers will walk all over on their way to light up some aliens with their friends. So why am I not sad about this? Well, I am. Sort of. I miss the good old days, as any sane person would. But it's important to recognize that the rise and fall of our great community leaves behind a foundation upon which a new community may one day thrive. Imagine the excitement as a new wave of explorers realize the depth, not only of the lore of PlanetQuest, but of the history behind it as well. It's comforting to know that, even as the last stars wink out, maybe someday someone might dig through our old chat logs, looking to see what we were thinking when we sent a huge ship to its doom for no reason in Season 1. Hopefully this little bit of perspective lightens your heart a bit, if you're a member of the old guard, looking back on better days. I find it's better to make peace with the life cycle of the community and how, in some ways, it's played right into the lore it helped shape. As for Galactic's responsibility to its community investors, though, different story. If you want to let the community die, fair's fair, but money has been committed, and thus you have a responsibility to those investors. See you next time, Explore.